2, who will possibly land inside of that, who can make it to the major. This is some very, very important stuff. There's a lot of money on the line here, either way you slice it. We're walking into Villa now, though. Soniqs have looked so damn good on this map every single time they've played it. Currently 4-0 on it right now.
All right, well, let's see if they're going to be able to potentially push that record forward a little bit more. Ace is going to be knocked out immediately at the beginning of the ban phase. No, not even a second thought on that from the Soniqs after seeing how it was played out in the last map. Time to get rid of it. Nomad, in response, is going to be taken out once again. Pretty much the same reasoning as to why it was taken out back in the last map. Super uses it pretty much every time he's given an opportunity to when it isn't banned, and it's very annoying to deal with when you're on defense on this map, just from the utility perspective. Well, following all the same trends here so far with the bans, and I've got a pretty good guess as to what the last one is. Is it Maestro? And it is. There we go.
Oh,
so, a lot of surprises here.
Oh yeah, I was definitely not expecting any of these bans to happen ever. Like the Nomad ban, super surprising, let me tell you. But some really, really nice bans overall for both of these squads. I still like that we're seeing the Maestro bans come in for a lot of teams. It's just so influential over how the defense have to play. It makes the defense open up that playbook even farther than what they had at their disposal before. I mean, having Maestro in play in and of itself is a very, very impactful choice. Along with his bubbles, I mean, the Alda, there's so many different things, but obviously you guys know most of that information. So let's jump on in here. Disrupt going to be dedicating themselves to a Lion super early on for Villa.
Attackers need to locate
Lion
and
coming
defuse
into
bomb.
the picture here. Going to be played by NJR. Important to note, of course, it's something that we'll also more than likely see the Soniqs use. This has often been kind of the go-to operator when Nomad is banned out, just because it can give you that intel if someone's trying to make a play on you. Not so much some of the other anti-roam operators here. He tends to be the one that gets placed in quite a bit as the replacement for Nomad here. Taking a look at the setup from the Soniqs, as well, of course, they're going to be here in Aviation and Games. We are going to see that middle reinforcement on the big center panel there. Sometimes that's done a little bit more on the extreme, but they're going to leave it on the middle in order to open up more rotate possibilities. It does look like they're doing the possible half wall as well in sight, and there's going to be more reinforcements placed over here in Trophy and Statue as well in order to give the extended roam a little bit better capability to play that out.
Should assist them pretty well. We've seen a lot of defensive squads on this map fall off of Statuary and Trophy quite early on. They've just been mostly doing it just to waste some time and feel out where the offense is going to be coming from. Really good game plan. So we'll see how Disrupt wants to take this, though. As of right now, it's really, really looking like a site-centric take. They don't want to finagle around with this extended roam from the Soniqs. Just nip it early on and try and force a plant. J9 already in downstairs inside of lobby. They're worried about the vertical angle upstairs. Really good check here from the drone game for Disrupt, working that intel extremely well. Still have to worry about Jaeger on main stairs, though. That's going to be Sleben. He's holding the cross angle, but Gomfi gets lit up by J9, holding that vertical angle that we were just discussing earlier. So a lot of really early pressure here for Disrupt.
Sleben now going to get spotted out on main stairs. Won't force him to relocate just yet, as he's playing into a pretty typical spot, so will lose the ADSs. Moment later, however, two of those flashbangs getting chucked in. The third one makes it through, so he'll get flashed out momentarily, and J90 will use one of his breaching charges in order to take out the Banshee sitting on the stairs. So Sleben's got to worry a little bit more about his positioning now that he's lost pretty much all of his utility. First bits of fire start to roll in from the Disrupt roster against him too. The good news is he doesn't have to worry about study just as of yet, but man, flash goes right to his face. Perfect positioning on that one, and that's going to send him reeling back up the stairs. Gomfi takes a little bit of heat too, but J90 has an immediate response thrown at him and is downed. More than likely he's going to be able to get brought back up, as we're seeing right now, but oh no, actually they take out Reed in the process of reviving J9. They might be able to do it again right here too. Sleben's still hunting out the players trying to get J9 back up, but it looks like finally, after losing an additional player and nearly losing a second one, they are able to get J9 back in the fight.
Lots of problems early on here for Disrupt. We're down to the last minute now. Still have plenty of utility to try and make this execute happen, as well as the drones to back it up. So not the worst place to be, even though they have lost Reed, and Thatcher can definitely have a big influence here. But now the Soniqs, early on now into the last minute, Gomfi gets taken down. That's the mute gone. Nitrocell off the board. So Disrupt all of a sudden making good progress towards the site. They have steady control here. They just need the hard destruction to go through to actually get some presence. Able to get some damage off on easily with that frag grenade, but not enough damage to frag him out. Still have plenty of time here for Disrupt to make some moves, but easily going to thwart those plans immediately. Takes down Retro, still has the Nitro Cell as well as that gets placed. Might be able to get him some kills here as well, as NJR is just on the other side. Seems like they really want to pressure this bar door, but they still have the study control. Shuttle baited into the Nitro Cell, taken down by Easily, who's still in behind this bar, but it's a crossfire from Super to take down NJR. Easily picks up J9, and the Soniqs have their first round.
Two players come to mind when it comes to the impact being made there by the Soniqs. That's Easily at the end doing some perfect work around the bar area and some really creative use of the Nitro Cell as well to try and delay or just slow down the overall attack, and then still managed to get a kill from it. And on top of that, Slebin doing some fantastic work initially at the stairs, of course, just maintaining his position, but even after getting flashed out of that spot, he's able to retreat to the site and find some really good impact from close to inside of the bar on those top down positions too. Beautiful stuff from those two players. Definitely quintessential to the impact being made by the Soniqs, and without their efforts it would not have been as easily of a one round by them. They're going to start out strong with a 1-0 lead and immediately rotate over to Trophy next.
Yeah, and for the Disrupt camp, you kind of just got to put your head in your hands for a second and be like, all right, guys, what were we doing there? I mean, they had the early pressure down low that put Soniqs on kind of a really weird adjustment period, really, to put it. I mean, for the Soniqs, the main problem is that they had two bodies all the way across the map over inside of Statue and Trophy. They want to adjust them back to site when that pressure is happening early on from Disrupt, because they assume that obviously the offense is going to be more of a main stairs study take, and that's exactly what it was. But Disrupts, even though they were able to get some pressure on the Soniqs early on, it was really the Soniqs that got ahead because of that. Able to work those vertical angles, get a lot of damage off onto the offensive members, and eventually win the round because of those picks that they produced from those angles. So for Disrupt, I think that they need to worry about taking those gunfights more on a horizontal plane than a vertical plane, especially trying to battle things from down low. That never really works out in your favor. We've all seen, plenty of instances of that.
All right, guys, well, into round number 2. We've got the members of Disrupt spawned out here. Shuttle, NJR, and J9 are putting some pressure on the south side first, so there's some potential for conflict against Slebin and Gomfy. Their drones are already working on clearing things out at the tops there, too. Gomfy does kind of dodge the initial drone inspection, but is more than likely going to get spotted here on the second run from Reed. But he's trying his best to hide from it, of course, and if he does activate that backpack, it's going to be all too obvious where his general position is. They just won't know the exact angle, but so far hasn't really had to do that. Now is going to have to, though, so they know he's somewhere around this corner. Does try to take a fight, but gets hit pretty heavily on falling back from that, and is going to only have himself 25 HP and, well, won't be able to last with that HP for very long. The good news is Iconic is in this fight as well, and he's going to be able to trade things out from deeper inside Master, as he's able to take down Retro and eliminate the hard breach from the attacking side.
Oh, that is a huge pick going towards the defense. Retro now down, only hard destruction for the offense, so it's going to be the funnel game now for Disrupt. Let's see how they try and combat that. The Soniqs, though, dedicating a lot of utility to trying to shut down the south take from Disrupt, and that seems to be the main game plan for them as well. So it's going to be a very difficult take for Disrupt. I don't see them getting too far. They still have a lot of utility to burn through, as well as nades on Shuttle, so they have the means to get rid of these shields. This is still going to be a fight either way.
Shuttle hoping for a re-peek at that window, as I think he might have caught a quick glimpse of Slebin or another player from Soniqs holding in Master, which, by the way, they still maintain full control of this late into the round here due to the fact that there has been minimal pressure applied to that by the Disrupt roster. That could be changing over the next couple seconds, though, as it does look like they've got a couple players in position to start crunching towards it. Slebin knows he's relatively safe, at least when it comes to the red stairs push, because he has the Banshee to work off of as early intel. J9's going to try to flash out Slebin regardless here, and should succeed in it. It's going to make him fully turn around, and now looks to take out the Banshee. An exchange will go off as Iconic's going to leap out, and he gets killed by a Claymore, but he does take down Iconic before the Claymore explodes, so it goes 1 for 1 there. J9 gets another one for gets another one for Disrupt. They have a lockdown position as to where Super is at. So they know for a fact he's hiding behind this shield. He's going to start to rotate a bit more because he knows he's in trouble. Unfortunately, rotates right into a grenade, and he goes down. It's all on Easily. He tries to swing. He's also knocked out by J90, and Disrupt takes solid control over round number 2.
I'm honestly very surprised that Disrupt ended up winning that in such a dominating fashion. I mean, there was really no clear that happened or anything along those lines. It was just Soniqs members getting aggressive on angles, got some initial picks, and were able to pressure through Master as well. I mean, really, really nice adaptation from Disrupt to move some bodies over to Master. It was much needed. Try and make it a two-pronged attack instead of one. Works out for them in the end. Soniqs just not able to combat anybody off of those angles. I think that really the big changing factor there for them was Iconic getting picked off from that Claymore.
Yeah.
Granted, he was able to trade out, but keeping Iconic alive has been a huge deal for the Soniqs, especially throughout Cafe. I mean, we saw how many kills that man was able to get. If Iconic's alive, then there's a really good chance that they're able to win that round, but a little pesky Claymore action, and the Soniqs are down a round.
Unfortunate for him, like I said, we don't necessarily see Claymores get brought as often anymore, but they're still going to be present on one or two members of your team in common times, as we just saw right there with Reed being the one to deploy it and save the day for his team in that situation, stopping Iconic from being able to go crazy and probably hop back in to find some more action. So I think you're pretty right on that. Once he goes down, that's the closet opened up. Slevin was outside at that point. He really couldn't hold against players that may have been hopping in through the main master windows, and that's really when the shutdown begins. That's when the dangerous amount of map control starts to go over into Disrupt's favor, and they've got really easy crunchability on more than one member of the Soniqs roster at that point. So definitely a point in the round where we could have seen some different results if things had been played out differently. But we'll move on, go into round number 3 here, and see if the Soniqs will have better luck on this site, as now they're defending Kitchen, which, as we mentioned before, still involves that extended roam upstairs. So we're going to see that played by Slevin and probably 1 or 2 other players.
How crunchy exactly is the Soniqs? I need to know. Like, on a crunchability scale, how crunchable are we talking?
I don't know. That's a hard scale. I've never had to quantify that before, to be honest with
Like,
you.
are we talking like Frosted Flakes levels of crunch? Like,
We're
what
talking
are we talking about
like
here?
Captain Crunch levels of crunch. I think is what we're talking about.
The captain of the crunch. I see.
Crunchitize
Are we
me.
talking? Are we talking wild berry? Is that what we're talking?
Yeah, sure.
Oh.
I don't know the flavors, but
Oh man, you need to get up on your cereal game. I don't know what you're doing.
scratch the roof of your mouth crunchy. That's
The sandpaper the roof of your mouth, more like it. That might be the worst eating experience out of all cereals, I'll be honest. It tastes so good, but it's so painful. Oh man. All right, well, a minute into round 3 now in between these two. Soniqs still have a strong grasp of the upstairs. Disrupt going to have to try and figure something out about this. They do have the Lion once again, but most of their operators centered downstairs, specifically NJR and J9. They've had a good showing so far throughout this series, but we're going to need to see them try and make something happen inside of this round. NJR's gone a little quiet as opposed to what we're used to seeing from him. He's definitely got the proper kit to have some influence over this round. I mean, Lion, the one-click wonder there. Just pop that off whenever you need, and everybody's got to stand still for you. So, NJR now pressuring up the pantry area. Out to the top here. Inside of pantry, does have to worry about the door, the single panel reinforced as well. So nice hold here from the Soniqs, just using that sound cue there on the door. But oh no, the drone game comes in. NJR lighting up super through the wall as well after he takes down easily. Retro's been down inside of China though. That's actually going to be a major problem for them. They have kitchen control, but they have nobody to put the case down. Not going to really matter at the end of the day, but Gomfy actually almost making it happen. Just too many angles to worry about. Disrupt handles it from kitchen. So nice low maintenance execute. Didn't have to worry about the upstairs pressure at all, John. Just walked right up inside a pantry, got the drone intel inside a site, breaching around the door, run right in, get your frags, put a plant down. Some very riveting stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. Found that opportunity to go in through pantry, and at that point, it really just came down to that initial 1v1, and thankfully for the folks on Disrupt, ended up going into their favor with the deletion of Easily, although he tried his best to fend that off there. Didn't really seem fully ready for the scope of the push that was coming his direction. He gets shut down, and from that point forward, much like the last round, really, the floodgates are open, and we see Disrupt able to go in there. A valiant attempt from Soniqs to trade it back, but as you said, it was a very low maintenance push, and Disrupt are just kind of able to trade to victory there in order to keep themselves alive, and even I think baited their teammate after he went down in order to get the kill onto Super, and that ended up working out pretty well too.
Yeah, poor Retro.
I mean,
Poor Retro.
you got to contribute to the W. So.
Hey, listen, I have this discussion all the time. It is what it is. You're eventually going to die. It's Rainbow Six. You might as well die for, winning. You might as well die for winning the round instead of die and lose the round. You know what I mean? So if it takes somebody to die, then you might as well get it out of the way. Try and get yourself some, your team some kills and stuff like that. Not every single round is going to be flawless. It's impossible. I mean, have you played this game? I don't know.
Either swing or be swung, or bait or be baited, you know?
I think the swing or be swung is more, par for the
Yeah.
course than the other one.
Well, the last round changed a bit, so we'll just bring that one into people's minds for the future. Either way, we've got Disrupt spawned out yet again. They are going to be going up against the Aviation take this time. Soniqs was able to successfully defend this, if memory serves me correctly, so they're once again going to be looking for a victory here. See if they can push themselves forward and tie us up once again. A 2-2 scoreline. A lot of presence from Disrupt coming in from the from the master side of the map, compared to the last round where we saw almost all of the pressure going into the first floor from south side, initially from the side where the site's actually on. So this is a little bit different, a little bit of a change up here from the Disrupt roster, and I'm curious to see if it stays that way. If they're going to continue to put consistent pressure on the side. And I would say that that's a pretty positive yes on that one, considering we've got 3 players in. NJR already moving up to connector and now top red with full control.
Okay, well, Disrupt making quite a bit of progress here, all the way up to the top red, as you said. I mean,
Almost got a kill right there.
Yeah, as well as, Disrupt has all of their utility right now. There's a lot of really, really good things going on for them. They can get some pressure over towards the single panel for Vault. There's a lot of different ways that they can handle this now, strictly because they got here so early. I mean, they already have their presence for study. Right now, even though it doesn't look it, the Soniqs are in a really bad spot. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, they have the utility to try and counter out a lot of these plants. I mean, we have 4 nitro cells lined up for the Soniqs. Their main game plan is have Disrupt try and put this plant down and then nitro cell them every single time that they try and go for it. We'll see if it works out. But I mean, again, Disrupt have a lot of map control, and they've already shut off quite a few avenues that the Soniqs would really like to have access to.
The deceiving part of this take, right? Oftentimes we've been presented with situations like this. They're not always what they seem based on the way the first 2 maps have played out. And this could very much be one of those rounds. Disrupt very much seem to be in front of the situation right now, but you have those nitro cells to account for. Iconic is downstairs on the red flank, which, as far as we're aware of, nobody from Disrupt is aware of the fact that he's down there right now, so he could find some massive impact. You've also got the fact that the top stairs player has yet to have been dealt with, so the one player that's trying to move in from the study balcony is not going to be able to get in there without a fight. There's still quite a few issues being presented to the Disrupt roster, even though they're literally right next to the site and can execute at any moment. There goes an E1D charge. Iconic's actually going to try to make a run out over here, kill the player on repel, succeeds in doing so, doesn't even trigger the full 2-second timer, gets away with that one scot-free. Gomfy's going to be able to deny another one. Diffuser does go down, however, so the timer is now ticking in the opposite direction. Iconic also getting knocked out here, starts to trade things back in the other direction. A swing from Slevin gets him the kill on Retro, and probably the best post-plant position they had up until this point, but there's still more to be dealt with. Easley's going to get dropped by J9. The Lion cannot maintain as we finally see NJR go down, and now it's all on to J9. He's got to move in here quickly to prevent this counter defuse, and he won't be able to do it. Gomfy shuts it down for the Soniqs, and the counter defuse comes in shortly after that as they claim round number 4 and tie us up at 2-2.
Really well played on the retake there from the Soniqs. Most notably Iconic with the big play there. They needed that steady control desperately. So taking down the sledge on the rappel, really, really big influence over that round there. And Iconic once again having his hand inside of these successful rounds. So we're going right on over to Trophy. Off the back of the Soniqs just really winning out quite a few of these gunfights. There was a lot of really positive things there for them. Disrupt still able to get the diffuser down, made really good progress towards site. It just came down to that post plant where they just did not have the positions needed in order to lock down that diffuser, especially with Soniqs throwing every single body that they have at you.
So some success for the Soniqs, playing the site defense in a bit of an unorthodox way, but works out quite well for them ultimately now that the retake is a success and the members of Disrupt were unable to maintain their positions, especially over towards the study side. Now time to see if the Soniqs can once again continue to push that advantage forward here. I think we've mentioned already, it's going to be a trophy and statuary hold. We'll see if the setup's going to be any different from what we had seen previously. A lot of presence came in from Disrupt over towards the Aviation side the last time this was attempted in, again, if memory serves me correctly, won by the Disrupt roster, but they ended up shifting it late round and sending more of that pressure in through the Master side. Iconic died to a run out at that point. He was still able to go 1 for 1, but did get taken down by a Claymore, and after that point we saw Disrupt get some Master control, and they're able to quickly pinch. So we're going to see if Soniqs will play a little bit more passively with regards to that room and see if they can kind of just weight this one down on the timer a bit more.
Yeah, you can already see by their setup that they're mostly dedicated to try and slow down that push from Disrupt from the north again, but we'll see how that goes. I don't necessarily think that they're fully dedicated to this just yet. Soniqs have extended their hold over into plains. There's 2 reinforcements as well as some barbed wire here, but doesn't seem like they want to hold on to it for too long. They just want Disrupt to know that their presence is there, so they respect that map control and have to drone it out, take their time, do the regular things so that you know that none of the defenders can possibly kill you early on, because, well, especially in the current meta, in the current economy, whatever you want to call it, it's not the best to get picked off early on the offense. You need a lot of this utility to try and get some stuff done on site.
About a minute into the round now, as we've kind of come to expect so far from this series. Not a whole lot of action building up in that first minute. Disrupt have been able to take control on south side once again, and they're going to be able to sweep that up the top red pretty quickly. Not much resistance here from the Soniqs camp. After that point, of course, is when they're going to run into the same issues they ran into on their previous attack here. They're going to have to clear out all the utility that's set up on the inside of Statuary, be very aware of the setups and the kill boxes that have been set up on the inside of Trophy to shoot across the way and take out the players that are trying to take Statuary control, along with, of course, just the Astro control, too. And, you know, they've actually extended deep into Master once again, so they are committing to this one. They are trying to stop that presence from being established, and it doesn't necessarily look like Disrupt have the presence outside of Master to take it this time, although that could be changing, because that also kind of changed up late round last time, too, here. Slevin, in the meantime, going to make a big move here, goes all the way down, and potentially going to wrap over towards main stairs and try to start running a flank against these guys, which, again, could have really massive impact if it doesn't get scouted out at any point here by the Disrupt roster.
Yeah, this is a really, really smart adjustment here for the Soniqs. They haven't sent a rotation just yet or anyone on flank for this offense for Disrupt so far. So now that they're doing it in this time frame, especially with how Disrupt played out the round the last time, like you said, they adjusted people over towards Masters. So Soniqs are accounting for that, hoping that Disrupt's not going to keep every single man alive over on this side of the map. So there should be less people worried about this flank now, and the Soniqs can possibly do something with this. Utility in for Disrupt, but that's just some preamble stuff. We're not down to the execute just yet. Still plenty of utility for the defense to use to try and slow this down even more than it already has been. Shuttle going to take quite a bit of damage from that nitro cell that we heard go off in the distance. First EE1D, or excuse me, second EE1D out for NJR now, as they're going to be pressuring into Trophy. Still have plenty of utility on the offense as well to get through this, but 2 big kills happen now. Shuttle's been down, NJR taken out, but with only minimal time remaining. Oh no, J9 actually able to take down Sleben. Picks up Shuttle, still has the case at his disposal as well, but it's going to be down to Super to try and win out all of these engagements, and it's just damn near impossible. Getting shot at from every single angle, eventually getting shut down from Concrete. DG pick up yet another offensive round.
Super trying to do the hit and run on that last kill right there. Just not able to get away quickly enough. But once again, man, a very surprising outcome on the round there, considering the control that it looked like Soniqs had leading up to the eventual conclusion, only to get flipped again by the members of Disrupt. Very good work with regards to their execute. It's not working out with regards to the AVG attacks for some reason, but everywhere else, once again, we're seeing a very, very strong attack foot being put forward here by DG, similarly to map number 1.
Yeah, super strong front, and again, this is something that they've continued to say. They're really, really comfortable when it comes to offense. They feel like their adjustments are really strong, and we're still seeing that here. I mean, the bans that we have on the field, it can go either way. I mean, obviously, you can argue it which way you really want to. Nomad, a very impactful ban when it comes to what the Soniqs want to do on their offensive set. I mean, overall, both offense and defense hindered quite a bit in certain departments. So for the Soniqs now, they really, really need to win this defensive round, set themselves up for success on this offense. You don't want Disrupt walking into Villa 4-2 going into their defensive half. That is just not something you want on your conscience. That is just, you know, setting them up for success. And that's the exact opposite you want to do when you're trying to win a game.
May not be something they want, but it is something they've already dealt with, so it at least won't be unfamiliar territory for them if it does come to that. So hope for the Soniqs to try and bring this back under towards a 3-3 scoreline, where we'll have much similar flavors back on map number 2. Because that was the scoreline we ended up with there. If not, Disrupt are going to control the narrative going into the second half, and we'll have quite a bit of freedom, even though it'll only be a 2-round advantage. That's still quite a lot in Siege, especially on a map like this. We've got Disrupt out on the board here. Let's take a look and see what their opening and kind of salvo is going to lead them to get control over. We see Shuttle just kind of taking out some of the barricades and the windows here. No initial control being taken as of yet, though. So we're still probably a good 30-40 seconds away from anybody on Disrupt trying to do that, since they play pretty heavily into their drone game.
Yeah, they've done a very good job of keeping with the info game on their offenses throughout this entire series. They've looked really, really sharp on offense, and that's just something that you got to commend because it's very difficult to try and do, especially across an entire series when you're playing maps that you necessarily don't play that much. I mean, right now we're sitting on Villa. This is actually the most played map out of this entire map pool for Disrupt. Oregon 0-0, Cafe 0-2. I mean, like, Disrupt, this map pool did not favor them in any regard, yet we're still here and they're still ahead on Villa. So getting this last round is going to mean a great deal for them going over to that defensive side. So Disrupt so far, some good presence, losing a couple of drones in the process though as they're trying to get the maximum amount of information before entering the building.
So taking a look at the build-up here as we get down to the last half of the round. We're going to see the Disrupt roster continue to kind of clear things out when it comes to floor 2. And again, similarly to what we saw actually back on Cafe, which isn't like super relevant here, but just to bring this up, we're not going to see a lot of counterplay on the upstairs here, at least not this late into the round. This is going to give plenty of time for Shuttle to establish those top-down angles and give Disrupt more time to plan under calm conditions as well. This, I think, it's overlooked a lot. Obviously, once the fights begin, the comms kind of get chaotic, but since there's not a whole lot going on right now, or at least there's not a whole lot to watch, good find, by the way, here by NJR, they are going to have a lot more capability to kind of plan out their attack since they're not under any sort of immediate duress.
Oh, well, we might have some major engagements here early on as Easily still existing downstairs, worried about the line of NJR, but NJR has been, caught red-handed. Barrel out, but, oh no, does he get the second one? He does. Retro bails in the window for the staircase, gets immediately shut down by Easily. That's 2 huge kills here. Easily really shouldn't even had any hand inside of this. They had presence, or at least info on him early on, tried to use the utility from Lion to get him out of his hidey hole, but he comes back with a vengeance and takes down 2. DG looking really bad coming into these last 20 seconds. They need to get something done here, get some frags or something. That's the way to start it off, though. His Shuttle takes down Super. J9 forcing himself into sight now. They don't have case control, though, but J9 surely has the entire site locked down. They still have to worry about some presence down low, though, as he gets shut down from the hatch. Oh, it's almost doable, but now it's just down to the sledge, and Slebin takes a step inside of China, reads in the rights, knocks him down, and round 6 goes right into his back pocket. The Soniqs able to bring it back when they needed it most.
Slebin, more than anything, stepping up when he was needed most there at the end of the round, shuts down both of those players pushing in, trying to bargain for some control over the site so they could force a plant. That on top of the absolutely stolen frags from Easily there that happened about a minute prior to that, where he was able to get a double on the pantry stairs after he had already been spotted and flushed out by a drone and EE1D combo. That as well put a massive dent in the overall kind of player economy here for the folks on Disrupt and really prevented their capability to get in there. Beautiful stuff from those 2 members on the Soniqs, though, to bring it back and now tie us up at 3-3.
Well, now we got a major question here. We're switching sides, Disrupt, defense, Soniqs, offense, obviously. Soniqs going to be bringing a lot of the same cards that we saw Disrupt have inside of their hand, most notably the Lion coming into action once again. That's something that we really expected to be being brought by Super because that Nomad ban came in. Nomad, his more than likely favorite operator on offense. Every single time that thing is up, we always see him play it, but he obviously can still have some major impact here with this Lion pickup.
We've already seen that impact to a certain degree back on the last half when Disrupt was using it quite a bit, of course. They too would have also liked to use Nomad, but they're aware of the risks that come with leaving it in the pool, and with Super being allowed to go on that operator is probably his most played op. If I were just to take a random guess there, I wouldn't be too surprised if that was the case. So let's knock that one out of the pool and get rid of some utility that you don't necessarily want to deal with as well. Makes your roam game a little bit easier to deal with, as we should start to see that present itself a bit more here from the Disrupt roster as well. Now, interestingly, of course, as you guys have more than likely noted by this point, we are not going immediately into Aviation and Games. We are going to go over to Trophy and Statuary. Not a huge differential between those 2 sides. It really just comes down to individual team play style, and it seems that Disrupt has a better record on that site, so they're going to feel that they're better off defending there. Things are going to start out well for the Soniqs, though, as Gomfi's able to strike first here, catching Shuttle and taking him down, eliminating the Goyo. The good news is not a lot of utility being lost from that early kill, as the shields have already been set up in the early round, but still, player down gives Soniqs a bit more freedom to take risks here now that they have a player up.
Yeah, and Gomfi gets out scot-free as well and transitions downstairs. So nice start here for the Soniqs. plenty of map control at their disposal, so we'll see if they can transition that into some site pressure. They do still have to worry about one member off site, though, for Disrupt. That'll be Reed, as he's traveling around downstairs, seeing if he can get some very important frags, as they're much needed right now. So plenty of time on the board for the Sonics to work towards site here, as they're just slowly taking their time. I mean, it's mostly focused around Master, but Sonics just spread throughout the map, working on this intel game. This is something that we saw inside of the first map that they weren't doing a very bang-up job of, but this time around, lots of really, really good information on the positioning of these Disrupt members.
Retro's still hoping he gets lucky here with a peek over the top of the skylight there. Very, very tough one to get. Very rare one to even see in the first place here, so probably not going to come out with much from that position. But in the meantime, we do see some Sonics control starting to work its way in towards the Master side of the map. Super, in fact, has been able to net his team another kill here as well by taking down Reed, so a lot of early control going over. This is a great drone position too that they have. It's not going to get noticed by anybody on Disrupt more than likely here, so they're going to continue to get more and more kills from it. Iconic and Gomfy with 2 more to add on to the counter here leaves all the defensive efforts on to J9. He's going to be able to swing out and defend his own site for 1 kill here, but quickly trades it out and confirms the round for the Sonics.
That's the strongest offensive round I've seen the Sonics have all day. I mean, they checked every single box needed to try and get into sight. Good site presence, great roam clear, able to get the early kills that they needed, as well as have that intel for when the execute actually went off. Partner that with some EU1Ds and some nice gunplay, and you're in for a pretty good time. The Sonics go up for the first time here on Villa after tying things up on their defensive half. Disrupt headed towards AVG this time around. Don't want to head back towards Trophy, and you can't exactly blame them. There wasn't anything inside of the Sonics lineup there that was exactly exploitable. It seemed that it was perfect on almost every single front when it came down to just trying to make things happen. So Disrupt going to be bringing not the usual lineup that we see on this site. Regular dedications of utilities and all those kinds of stuffs and things. So big round here ahead of them, though. Disrupt need to try and bring this back, and their defense so far, at least through that first round, very reserved. We didn't see them get too far out of their comfort zone. They tried to rotate some people late to handle Sonic's advances on the roam, but we saw exactly what happened. Nothing really happening from Reed on that front, so this is just going back to the drawing board for them. Just get something fresh instead of going back to the same issues.
We are going to see that same half-wall reinforcement that the folks on Sonics are doing. We started to see more and more teams do over the past couple weeks as well. So that is going to leave the site partially exposed. And just taking a look at the defender utility real quick, we don't have a massive amount of interest. In fact, we only have one. So they're not playing into that same overall strategy that we saw from the Sonics. They were just trying to kind of play back over towards main stairs and inside of the bar site, and then be able to just chuck infinite nitro cells to the inside like you're playing double site on Consulate. Not going to be the same thing here. There is going to be a bit more of an active defense put into the inside of Aviation, but it's a lot of the same notes, especially with that half wall going into Study. That's potentially could work as a double-edged sword here if Disrupt are not careful about it. So a lot of attention needs to be given to that wall.
Well, Sonics currently planning on a Study take here, but still have to worry about a lot of presence on the top of main. That's where Disrupt are currently lying, holding on to Study. This is the usual way that we see teams hold this down, but there's going to be some vertical presence from behind them as well. I don't know if Retro's going to be able to get out here as fast as he initially could have, but doesn't really matter as Iconic bullies his way right through Study, walks through the toxic smoke and all. Able to get 2 big frags, and now Disrupt in a really problematic situation. Down 2 members and so much time on the board for the Sonics to work.
Great coordination there from the Sonics. That's a very risky push due to the fact that it could get shut down very easily, especially with the smoke utility in play there, but doesn't end up happening. They're able to shuffle their way through both Retro and NJR there and give, as you were saying, some massive positioning and cause a lot of problems here for Disrupt. They're going to have to try and find some way to swing this back under their control. And in a 3v5, I mean, they can't really afford to take risks here, but at the same time, they kind of have to try to get ahead. We're going to see another player get dropped. That's going to be Reed inside a gun vault. He goes down. Shuttle takes a duel against a player on Repello, win that. J9 also able to win a fight out over there towards Bookcase, but he gets traded out by easily after the fact in terms of going back into the site. Slevin is going to be here at Study Door, shuts down the rotate from Shuttle, trying to work his way back over towards top red. And with that, the Sonics control another one. Some very strong initiations here from the Sonics, giving them incredibly good positioning to play off of and great executes to follow it up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a lot of really, really good things there for the Sonics. I mean, good information game, knowing where these positions are for DG, and then capitalizing on it very early on, simply because DG doesn't think they're going to do so. I mean, you guys saw how baffled Retro looked on the smoke when he stood up over that shield. He's like, "You're not supposed to be here, sir." So there was a lot of things there for Disrupt that they exactly weren't prepared for, and it's not things that you can exactly account for. It's just the Sonics messing with the pacing of the game. Really heads up stuff from them to abuse that, especially so far into this series when we haven't seen necessarily a huge change up in that. I mean, almost all of the offensive stuff that we've seen from both of these squads have been very late into the last minute, executed off of information and utility usage, not just, hey, we're going to bully the initial players that we see with gunfire and EE1Ds and crossfires from every which direction. So nice change of pace here that really threw Disrupt off to start off the round.
All right, just a couple seconds left here, and Sonics are going to spawn out once again here for the Disrupt roster, continuing to change up their site picks. Unfortunately, with no success as of yet, just continuing to rotate around in hopes of a site that Sonics is not going to be as easily prepared for. And so far, they've kind of run out of luck on trying to win on that strategy here. The Sonics, in the meantime, so far have a flawless second half on their attacking side, winning both the rounds that have been played out so far. Only 2 rounds, so still plenty of opportunities to go. And they do need 2 more to close this one down, but they're on the warpath right now. And unless Disrupt tries to put a roadblock in the way here, it's unlikely that anything is going to stop that. We do see quite a bit of roaming presence here from Disrupt, though. It definitely looks like they are trying to get in the faces of Sonics right off the bat here, with their positioning both in the basement and further out from the site, closer to living room as well. So definitely some efforts being made. Whether it'll lead to anything for them or not is still yet to be seen, of course.
Well, 2:15 on the clock right now. Sonics obviously on the timer, being on the offense, just waiting to clear things out. I mean, the initial beginnings for most of these rounds, like we were talking about before, have mostly been the same, but it seems that Sonics here on Villa really want to get down to the nitty-gritty, John. We've seen a lot of gunfights happen early on with this, offense so far. I really like what I'm seeing. Again, it's that pace change that's been throwing off Disrupt. If they continue on down this line, I don't know exactly how Disrupt are going to fare. These early engagements have really been boding well for the Sonics. They have all of top control right now, but once again, Sonics with an early pickup here as Slevin takes down NJR. Valkyrie off the board, Nitro Cell off the board, and we're only halfway through this round. Sonics once again in that driver's seat.
NJR was very much the target who was going to be taken down first, though, so everything's kind of going according to plan right now. Just unfortunate that NJR wasn't able to trade anything out with him, as now, just like the previous rounds, that's just a free opener for the Sonics. It just brings it down to a 5v4, and as I was talking about in previous rounds, just opens up better capability for the Sonics to try and take risks. Iconic is going to eat a massive chunk of damage here as he goes down to right around 1 HP, so I don't know if that was a Nitro Cell getting chucked at him. Looks like it based on Reed's UI, but regardless, he's going to be able to chain it into another kill anyway, even though he missed the one on Iconic. Takes down easily in order to eliminate him. That's the hard breach gone for the Sonics, and I don't think they got an opportunity to use any of those X-Kairos. Iconic is going to get taken down upstairs, but Gomfi's right next to him, so should be able to revive. Oh no! It baits them both in. Slevin does trade out onto Reed deeper in sight, but he's not counting on another player to be deeper out here. That's going to be Super that'll maintain the angle, be able to trade onto J9, but now it goes down to a 1v2 with just him as the sole player standing here for the Sonics. It's going to try to put pressure in on Tarps first. He's got good idea as to where one player is positioned, but I don't know if he has full confirmation on it. Kind of just guessing on the peaks right now, and unfortunately that guess will cost him his life as Shuttle's able to swing with some great timing to take him down and finally net Disrupt their own first round here on the defensive half.
What a strong retake there from Disrupt, eventually working all of their presence from living room back into sight and winning so many engagements along the way. Really putting a wrench inside of the Sonics' plans there, eventually getting down to Super, but he really didn't have control of that situation overall. Case is all the way outside. He has people on site that he doesn't exactly know where they are. Granted, he does still have some utility to use, but what's it worth when you have to take 2 gunfights at one time? Disrupt pick up a really needed round as they're going to head towards Living Room Library. This is a site that we don't get to see too much of, but we have been seeing a lot more of recently. I really like this site. This is one of my favorite sites in the entire game to watch right now, mainly because there's a couple different ways you can handle it. We've seen a lot of teams completely disregard handling the upstairs setup that a lot of the defenses try and run, holding down the aviator game section of the top floor. Most of the time, the offense will take from the north to south, cut off the map at that 90 area, or the long haul area upstairs, and then try and maintain control of trophy and statuary while applying pressure to living room through the 2 soft single panels inside of that area. Other than that, it's just going to be the vertical play up here for Disrupt that's really going to give the Soniqs a lot of problems. This is going to be the main area that you're going to see Disrupt work really, really often.
So this is going to be, like Stokes is saying there, this is the more standard of the holds right now. This is trying to kind of stack up gun vault with as much utility as possible and keep the player on the inside alive, because the most obvious entry point for the Soniqs in this situation is going to be that double soft wall inside of living room, and their current entry points would align with that objective as well. If they're not able to deal with the gun vault player, you can take a direct duel with him when you execute, in through those 2 walls where J90 just walked past right there. It's just obviously not the greatest angle. So your other option is to clear that out, as Stokes was mentioning, but that can take a lot of time and potentially a lot of utility. So there's a bit of a judgment call that needs to be made with how you want to handle that. And it looks like Soniqs may be going for the direct confrontation option, as we do have 2 players looking for information around the study side right now.
I think this might be a late change up here from the Soniqs. I mean, we have a lot of them currently over inside the master/trophy area, but we could see them possibly go for a late entry here into study to try and shut down Shuttle and the rest of these Disrupt members upstairs. Could be a really good game plan, but we'll see what the Soniqs think about it. Again, you can always change things up on the fly whenever needed. So Soniqs, for right now, mostly spread throughout the map, just trying to get this initial information on how they want to handle this. EE1D's out now, and this might be what all she wrote for this upstairs hold. We are going to have the initial pick here from Iconic as he works his way into bar, but he still has one inside of Gun Vault to worry about.
Going to try to drone it, but I believe it's going to get muted before it's able to actually see the position of J9. Regardless, he swings, doesn't falter either when he takes some damage. Very committed to that fight and is at least able to win it, but Sleben, as you kind of might expect in that situation, is going to be there to trade it pretty much immediately after he picks up the kill. Super finds the next one here against NJR. It's down to Retro and Reed deep in the actual site now to fend this off against the still very strong 4-man roster here from the Soniqs, so far only having lost Gomfi in the 2 minutes that have been played out already. There is going to be a moment of calm here as they don't feel the need to immediately execute after those kills, and they're smart to do that. Taking a look, they still have plenty of drone economy to play off of here, so there's not any rush in that respect. And even better, they're just going to be gifted the kill on Retro when he tries to move positions. I don't know if he got droned out and had to move due to that or another circumstance, but either way, he chose to leave his position and got caught as a result of that. On to Reed now, who swings wildly into Art. He's going to fall back to Piano. Does have the correct read on the Red Room player, but cannot take them down anyway. Super wins out the last fight, and Soniqs get themselves yet another round. Truly running the gauntlet here on the attacking side of Villa.
Reed's going to want that one back at the very, very last bit of that round. But besides that, super strong showing there from the Soniqs. Just bullface running into the upstairs area and taking control. That's something that we haven't seen a lot of teams try and do on that site, John. I really like it because it limits the man count for Disrupt if it goes well, and the Soniqs went about it in a really, really good fashion. They got the initial information that they were needed. They backed it up with those EE1Ds, as well as pressured the upstairs area from multiple angles, and that's what you need. You need those crossfires so that when Disrupt eventually messes up or somebody steps too deep into a line of sight, they're dead from that separate angle. So really nicely done by the Soniqs to handle that top floor, setup from Disrupt. Now moving into the possible last round here, Disrupt sending us for a whirl once again. This is going to be the first time that we have repeated a site in DG's defensive half this entire time. So we're headed back up to Trophy. Not able to win it the last time. Only one site that they've had so far, Kitchen, which actually ended up going really, really well for them.
Yeah, so hopefully things will work out better for them here on the second run upstairs. If not, it's going to be a Soniqs victory, and Soniqs moving on into the major qualifier as well, which I'm sure they'll be very happy about that, given their performance that they've had on map number 3. Very, very dominant from the attacking side. But so far, only that single round response from Disrupt. They've got to summon something, and they've got to do it now on this round. Otherwise, the game will be over, and the Soniqs will take it. Pretty much everybody from Soniqs spawning over on south side, with one player being the exception. So you can more than likely expect to see a good amount of presence coming in towards that study side at the start. Possibly a full outright clear from this direction. Shuttle still busy reinforcing things over here in the meanwhile, so it's going to have to wrap that up as the action is coming his way pretty soon.
What a consistent scoreboard right now for the Soniqs. Sleben on the top of the pile, 12-4 and 5. His best showing that I've seen this entire stage.
This scoreboard's like really weird when you look at the last map, right?
Exactly. That's what I was about to say, actually, because you know what the caveat is to that? Disrupt scoreboard looks exactly the same as the previous map. We have Shuttle at double digits, J9 with 9, 3, and 8, and then the rest of the DG squad just falling silent. And they are desperately needed right now.
First EE1D going to be thrown out here. Shouldn't catch anybody on the Disrupt roster, but that will. Shuttle is going to be stunned out here, and it's more than once that it rolls in as well. They do have something that draws them back over towards main stairs. That actually gives Shuttle a moment to recover here, although ultimately it's not going to be enough to win out the second gunfight. 1-for-1 exchange. I did see the silhouette of the player downstairs, so it looks like that may have been what potentially pulled them away from the initial push over towards main stairs, was either Retro or Reed. I didn't catch the silhouette there, but looks like it was Reed based on his current position falling back there that drew them away from the main stairs and initially pulled them away from that fight that they were trying to commit to the inside of bar. Either way, it serves to equalize things out into a 1v or into a 4 versus 4, as now both teams will still sit at the same man count.
Are you clairvoyant, or are we about to have a 1vx here in just a second? More than likely, though, because both of these teams have really opted to take these gunfights and run with them. The Soniqs playing patiently this time around after we saw them try and change up the speed in which they were attacking things. Still have plenty of utility to deal with a lot of stuff that Disrupt's throwing at them upstairs. Most notably the Banshees, which Slevin will be gearing right up with his impacts, but not before he gets taken down by a cheeky little angle from J9, steps on top of the box, rips his head off. So now the Soniqs actually not looking too hot. Down 2 men right now. 3 versus 4 walking into this last minute.
Some of the reinforcements being dealt with on the inside of Master Bathroom here. NJ are very much ready for the challenge, though, if there's going to be a swing from a member of the Soniqs. Doesn't look like it's going to happen from the Silhouettes, though. A lot of focus still going on to the statue wall. And it's not just the hard breach that's focusing on that either. Iconic does have an angle to the inside of Master Bath, so if anybody from Disrupt tries to swing Bathroom, they can punish that, but a bit of a different story on the other side. They are getting the plan out, though, and it doesn't seem to be much of an interruption here. Super as well just has free vision in from Connector, so he's going to be able to pick up J9, trading out the kill from earlier. He will fall on the rotate from Reed. Retro starts to battle back in as well. It's all now on to Iconic here, who doesn't really have positioning on the diffuser. He's going to try to hop in late, but he gets denied by NJR. And with that, that'll be a nice solid retake from Disrupt to put them back into this map now. Only one more round away from tying us up and taking us to OT.
Oh man, what a round there for Disrupt. It was not the best showing there for the Soniqs. I mean, it was really just up to Soniqs losing those gunfights. Honestly, that round was really winnable up until they lost Super at the top of Red. Yeah. He was really the last hope for the Soniqs to try and win that round. After those big picks happened, they were able to get that diffuser down, and Super maintaining the top Red control was paramount to the success of that round. But after he gets picked up, there's really only one man that can try and stop everybody, as Iconic's all the way over inside of Bathroom. They clean him up, and then it's all down to Iconic, who has to try and make a mad dash for the diffuser, but he gets cut off on timing as Malusi rotates into Bathroom. So just not the greatest showing off rip there for the Soniqs. Is Disrupt able to fight back inside of these gunfights?
All right, well, Disrupt has survived, and better news yet for the folks watching in the Disrupt camp right now. Well, they get to go back to the only other site that they won so far in this half, so things are looking good there as well to potentially trigger an OT and really test the limits of both of these teams in order to decide this series and that major qualifier position as we were talking about earlier. For the Soniqs, of course, some issues getting control over this site, although they tried their best to make it happen. Now going to have to rerun that. Hope things go a little bit better on the second attempt.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for the Soniqs on that last clear that we ended up seeing from them is that they had a really strong clear when it came to, you know, oh, actually, apologies. I thought for 2 seconds that we were back upstairs for just a split second watching everybody reinforce. I was taking some notes down, so apologies for that. So actually, we're down onto Kitchen. Disrupt, lineup-wise, looking quite solid. This is what we usually see on this site. I mean, Reed's still going to be bringing the Pulse. This is something that neither of these teams have really been utilizing heavily today. Pulse kind of being a favorite for a couple of these squads inside of the NAL, but just kind of growing dormant as of you know, this series in between these two. We've only seen him about 2 to 3 times, but on this site specifically, he's very potent. He can get a lot of intel. His Nitro Cell can get you those early picks that are really needed, and Disrupt are bringing a hell of a payload with 4 of those tagged along for the ride.
Got the entire Soniqs roster pushing in from that south side, or at least a large majority of them. Easily, of course, is the big exception over here on northeast side, right outside of Master. Hanging out probably right up on the 3rd floor, waiting for his teammates to commit a bit more to this clear so that he'll have relative safety to try and group up with them or start to pinch out the roaming presence that is upstairs. And you can see from our silhouettes that there's quite a bit of that roaming presence, at least 2 players still hiding out in trophy statuary area, with 1 more player also extended out to defend against things like a mudroom push. Retro is going to try to go for the nitro cell toss. It's just pre-placed for now in the event that players end up swinging in towards that direction, so be able to call for that a little bit later on if the opportunity presents itself, especially with the pulse play coming into the picture here. So definitely hold your breath for that one. Iconic and Gompy, though, going to start this round off with a bang, quite literally, as a grenade kills NJR. Gompy with a headshot on the J9O. That's the entire upstairs hold dead in a matter of a half second.
That's going to be a major problem for Disrupt, as this is going to be a lot of vertical work for the Soniqs, taking away a lot of comfortable positions that Disrupt really want when it comes down to execute time, but they might be able to get these nitro cells to come through and bag some really important kills. But 1 already off the board and only 1 remain for the rest of this Disrupt roster. 3v5 with plenty of time on the board for the Soniqs to work these angles and continue in that info game. Very nice top clear for them, supported by a lot of really good intel, and that Lion utility, once again, it seems that almost every single one of these times, Super has found some way to have that make an impact. Nice kill here as Retro gets taken down. Reed taking a little bit of damage here, and this is going to be a major problem. Disrupt down into the 2 versus 5, and this is their hopes for trying to get into the qualifier. They try to adjust up red stairs, but Shuttle gets taken down. Reed to follow. Soniqs with a flawless round to close it out here on Villa, as they'll be playing inside of the North American qualifier.
A little bit too aggressive there at the end. The remaining 2 players running around trying to look for any opportunity to try and start trading that round back, but it just never presented itself. 1 player even running straight into a setup angle there. Some beautiful work by the Soniqs. A very convincing second half here on Villa. Their attack looked incredibly strong.